Virginia just signed its ghost gun bill, but the real question is what changed today and what did not. As of April 10th, Governor Abigail Spanberger signed Virginia House Bill 40 into law, and her office described it as a ban on untraceable firearms without serial numbers, commonly called ghost guns. That part is real. According to the governor's announcement and the Virginia Legislative Information System, this is now a signed Virginia law, not just a proposal moving through committee. But the signed bill is more specific than a lot of the headlines make it sound. The state summary says HB 40 updates Virginia's plastic firearms statute and also creates new penalties tied to unserialized firearms and unfinished frames or receivers. In the public summary, knowingly possessing an unserialized firearm or an unfinished frame or receiver can trigger criminal penalties, and so can importing, purchasing, selling, offering for sale, transferring, manufacturing, or assembling certain unserialized items. So this is not narrowly about sales alone. It reaches further than that. Here is the part many people are missing. This does not hit all at once. The Virginia bill summary says the provisions dealing with unfinished frames or receivers and unserialized firearms have a delayed effective date of January 1st, 2027. The possession ban goes later still. The same summary says the provisions that prohibit knowing possession of an unserialized firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver do not become effective until July 1st, 2027. So if you were hearing that this instantly became an enforceable possession ban the moment the governor signed it, that is not the cleanest reading of the public record. That timing also explains why people are talking about the lack of a grandfather clause. What the public summary shows is a delayed runway, not a permanent exemption for already owned unserialized firearms. In other words, the law appears to give time before the possession piece activates, but the public material does not show a broad carve-out saying existing owners are permanently exempt after that date. That is a very different thing. A delayed effective date buys time. It does not automatically equal protection for current possession forever. And there is another place where the conversation has gotten sloppy. I have not seen the public state summary say that Virginia created an immediate gun registry through this bill, and I have not seen a public state summary saying owners must report their firearms to the government right now because HB 40 was signed. If more detailed implementation guidance comes later, that will be its own story. But based on the signed law summaries available today, the confirmed development is the ban structure and the delayed effective dates, not some overnight registration order. Thomas Updates has spent a lot of the past month following California cases, Ninth Circuit fights, and federal filings. This one is different. This is not a new court opinion. It is not a Supreme Court petition. It is a state statute already signed with future trigger dates built into it. And that difference matters because the next stage here is not waiting for a judge to issue a ruling. It is watching whether this law gets challenged before those dates arrive. If you want this channel staying tight on the actual text instead of the internet version of it, subscribe to Thomas Updates. Stories like this get distorted fast, especially when one bill starts getting mixed together with half a dozen other Virginia gun proposals. And yes, that mixing is already happening. There has been a lot of chatter tying this law to the Department of Justice and Harmeet Dillon. Public reporting does say DOJ is watching Virginia's broader package of firearm bills closely. But the reporting on Dillon's letter specifically called out Senate Bill 749, the assault weapon measure, not HB 40. So if someone is using that DOJ story as if it were a direct announcement about this ghost gun law in particular, slow down. Those are related political developments in the same state, but they are not the same bill. So what does HB 40 change and what does it not change? It changes the legal posture in Virginia because the Commonwealth now has a signed law aimed at unserialized firearms and unfinished frames or receivers, with possession restrictions scheduled to arrive later. What it does not do is instantly rewrite the situation on the ground today for every owner in the state. It also does not tell us by itself whether the law will survive a court challenge. Signed law and upheld law are not the same thing. The obvious next question is whether this gets litigated. I think that is a fair question and it needs to be framed carefully. A challenge would not be surprising. This law reaches beyond commercial sales and into possession, and rules touching self made firearms, frames, and receivers have already generated major litigation in other jurisdictions. But whether Virginia's law gets blocked, narrowed, or upheld will depend on who sues, what parts they target, what record gets built, and which court handles the case. None of that is settled by the governor's signature alone. The practical takeaway right now is simpler than the rhetoric surrounding it. Virginia has signed a ghost gun law. The serial number and frame or receiver provisions do not all take effect immediately. The possession piece, according to the public bill summary, does not kick in until July 1st, 2027. And the public record, at least as of today, does not show a broad grandfather protection for existing unserialized firearms once that possession date arrives. I'm pulling this from publicly available legislative records, the governor's own announcement, and current reporting as of today. That gives us a solid picture of where things stand, but it is still analysis, not legal advice or some official ruling for your specific situation. If you own something that may fall into this category, the smartest move is to talk with a qualified attorney who practices in Virginia. For now, the clean read is this: Virginia did sign HB 40. The law does target unserialized firearms and unfinished frames or receivers, and the biggest detail most people are missing is that the possession ban is delayed, not immediate. When the first serious court challenge or implementation guidance lands, I'll cover that next here on Thomas Updates, so if you want that update when it drops, subscribe.